Right.
I'm very grateful to the Prime Minister. On the issue of fairness and responsibility, given that 50% of the funding for the Child Trust Fund would benefit 1.5 million of the least able and most disadvantaged families in this country, is it fair that, given that this Cabinet is asset-rich, that they should take away from those who are asset-poor?
The right honourable gentleman has to understand, in the words of the outgoing Chief Secretary, we've run out of money. Now, yes, I don't know what they're shouting about. It is a Labour government that left us with £160 billion as our budget deficit. Now, of course, the Child Trust Fund, when thought up, was a good idea, but today it means a new child being born. We are borrowing money for that child and then putting the money into that child's bank account. You broke the nation so badly, it's schemes like these that can't be continued with. The Queen's speech has these values running right through it in each and every bill. Devolving power, not centralising it. Trusting people, not dictating to them. Saving money, not wasting it. It's a radical programme for a radical government, and that is exactly what our country needs. 1, 2.
I'm very grateful to the Prime Minister for giving way, and can I congratulate him on his recent promotion. I personally and many of my colleagues on this side of the House were looking forward to an opportunity in this Parliament to reaffirm our support for the Hunting Act. And I believe that many of his own backbenchers were also looking forward to an opportunity to express their view on the Hunting Act. Is there any particular reason why it was not included, repeal of the Act was not included in the Queen's speech?
There will be a free vote on a motion of the House of Commons, and all members will be able to take part, voting according to their conscience, as they should on this issue.
I'm grateful for the right honourable gentleman giving way. Does he realise that the proposal for a 55% rule to prolong the life of this Parliament is totally unacceptable? It's a travesty of parliamentary democracy, and if it is to go ahead, we'll see what the 2010 House of Commons is made of.
Perhaps I could remind the honourable gentleman of two important points. First of all, in the Labour manifesto, they supported fixed-term parliaments. Secondly, in order to entrench fixed-term parliaments in Scotland, almost every member sitting opposite, who was there at the time, voted for a 66% block rather than 55%. Let me give a little warning, if you like. I tell you something, having sat on those benches for the last 9 years, opportunism doesn't work. It didn't take them very long. It didn't take them very long. The context of this government is an appalling legacy left by Labour. Let me quote the former Chief Secretary in full, the Right Honourable Member for Birmingham Hodge Hill. The letter he put to his successor. Chief Secretary, I'm afraid there is no money, kind regards and good luck. 13 words that sum up 13 years of complete cavalier arrogance with the taxpayers' money. So this Queen's speech, put forward by this new government, is the first step in putting things right. This country will get the complete opposite of what went before. Not spending money for the sake of it, but spending it wisely and saving it. Not top-down control and big government, but bottom-up change in the big society. Not power for politicians, but power to the people. I give way to the honourable member for Rotherham.
I'm grateful to the Prime Minister. Will he continue to stay in alliance with Europe, with parties that his deputy, and I quote his deputy's words, described as nutters and anti-Semites?
The answer to that is yes, but I've been waiting. I've been waiting for this question. For 5 years I was sitting there listening to all his questions to the former Labour Prime Ministers about this issue, and never once was I able to remind him of some of the people his party sits with in the European Parliament. So I hope the House will indulge me. Labour are allied to the Lithuanian Social Democrat Party, and one of their MPs said, and I quote, "As a doctor, I think homosexuality is a disease." Now, I think that is a disgusting point of view. That's who you sit with. That is who the honourable gentleman sits with. Let me
Point of order, Mr Kevin Brennan.
In order, Mr Speaker, for the Prime Minister to continue his practice in opposition of using the word "you" to describe members on the opposite side of the House.
The short answer to the honourable gentleman is that it's not in order, but I know the Prime Minister's not going to do it again anyway. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I will endeavour to do my best. Let me just give one other example. In the last Parliament, while the honourable gentleman was putting all these points, Labour was allied to the Polish Self-Defence Party, whose leader, Andrzej Lepa, he said Hitler had a really good programme. That's their allies in the European Parliament. I think we've heard enough. I think we've heard enough of him for another 5 years. Nothing better. Nothing better.
Order! I'm sure the House wishes to hear Mr Simon Hughes.
I congratulate the Prime Minister on his new office, and he was right to criticise some of the legacy of the Labour Party. Can he therefore give this House and the country an assurance that we will do better in his government in building council housing and providing affordable housing in rural constituencies like his, as well as urban constituencies like mine?
I'm very grateful for the honourable member's question. I hope before long he'll be referring to it as our government rather than his government. You're absolutely right, and we will be prioritising. Sorry, he is absolutely right, and we will. I'll get the hang of this eventually. We will be prioritising social housing, not least because the last government left a huge black hole that they refused to fund. Let me ask the honourable member for Colchester to calm down. We will actually, of the savings that we have found in terms of the £6 billion, some of that money will be put back in to the social housing that they promised and never delivered. Nothing better will sum up the clean break of this government will make with the past than our Freedom Bill. We will repeal ridiculous laws that allow a never-ending list of public bodies, from local councils to quangos, to enter people's homes without permission. We will scrap their plans for ID cards, and after the Labour government failed to act for so many years, we will end the incarceration of children for immigration purposes once and for all. And we are going to bring that same spirit of radical change to the biggest challenge of all, which is sorting out the mess that Labour have made of our economy. Mr Speaker, everything they told us was wrong. They told us they'd abolished boom and bust, but they gave us the longest and deepest recession on record. They reassured us we were better prepared for this recession than other countries, yet we were one of the first countries into recession, one of the last countries out of recession, and have one of the weakest recoveries. And, Mr Speaker, they promised us prudence, but they left us with the largest UK budget deficit in peacetime history. They lectured us about their golden rules, but in the end, the only golden rule was never trust Labour with the economy of this country. Mr Speaker, it stops now. No more spending beyond our means, no more reckless borrowing, no more taxing of the poorest to pay for the mistakes of the few. In just 2 weeks, this government has done more for our economy than Labour managed in the last 2 years. We have changed the way budgets are written by establishing a new Office of Budget Responsibility, which will stop any Chancellor from fiddling the figures ever again in our history. We have launched and completed an in-year spending review to save £6 billion of waste that the party opposite still says is absolutely vital to our recovery. What a ridiculous argument. Do they really think the £125 million a year we discovered they were spending on taxes, or the £320 million they spend on hotel bills, the £7 million spent by one department on stationery, are all these luxuries somehow essential to firing the engines of our economy? Of course they're not, and it's right that they are being reduced. And, Mr Speaker, it's because we found these savings that we can stop one of the most stupid, reckless and irresponsible tax rises ever dreamt up in the middle of a recession, and that was the idea of putting up national insurance on every job in our country. And with this coalition government, that jobs tax is going. That's what we've done in the last 2 weeks. Let me give way to the honourable member.
Well, if the Prime Minister could confirm that his government has no plans to raise VAT.
Well, the whole point is we're getting to grips with spending so we don't have to put up taxes. Absolutely. The only people I remember with a plan to raise VAT was the last government who actually published it. Although, actually, to be fair to the honourable gentleman, he'd lost his first seat and we're all looking forward to him losing his second one. Now,